Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my series, How to Draw. This is episode 13. We're going to be learning how to draw feet in this episode. My note here that I just wrote down is you can basically just start with a simple triangular shape for the foot. And I'm also saying, you can get by with a simple shape, but we want to try to give our feet a little bit of more dimension. So we're just starting off pretty basic here, and then I'll get into some pretty detailed videos or feet in a little bit here. But there's a side view. There's the front view. So the foot is basically like a wedge shape, and I'm drawing that here at a three-quarter view. That's a very, very simplified shape for the foot. It really isn't what it looks like, but that's just the basic idea. And the note here says if you can draw a triangle, you can draw feet. Oh, and then my other note here says most feet are covered up by shoes or some other kind of apparatus on like a apparel like boots. I'm having so much trouble reading what I wrote. I can't see it. It says again, feet are covered up by shoes or boots, but we really need to learn how to draw them. It's important, especially for your superhero characters, your superheroine characters, who often have some kind of boot on them. You still need to learn how to draw the shape of the foot at least. So here I'm starting to do some more detailed examples. Again, you can pause the video, follow along, draw what I'm drawing. Oh, and here my note says this can be good enough. What I drew to the left there, that can be good enough, and that'll get you by for a while. If all you want to do is just draw superheroes or something, or learn how to draw a shape of a foot, that'll get you by for most of your drawings. I mean, most people aren't walking around barefoot. So, okay, next part we're going into here is I wanted to go into a little bit more detail and show you what the ankle looks like and how the ankle is made. So the ankle is the joint right above the foot. The ankle is what allows our foot to move around. And then, so I'm drawing an example of it here. This is a little bit more advanced than what I wanted this series to be, but it's okay. I mean, you can draw what I'm drawing, or you can just watch, but I wanted to do this to show you when you're drawing feet, you have to draw the ankle section also. You can't just draw no ankles and then feet. It'll look wrong. It'll look bad. You have to make sure you're at least getting a section in there for the ankle, and then the ankle bone is actually the bone that it actually pivots on is actually part of the foot, but there's a cutout section of bone on the end of the tibia. It's like a socket kind of bone, or a socket kind of cutout, where the bone on the top of the foot fits into that, and that creates the joint. So it's like almost like a like a wedge and socket shape kind of thing. So here's the just the drawing of an ankle joint. Not sure what I was doing there. I think my chair was sliding away from the table or something. So the feet have 26 bones. That's too many for this lesson, obviously. I'm not going to, bore you with 26 bones. You really don't need to know how to draw all of them. We're going to just draw some simplified versions. And I'll show you a little bit more complex than what I did on the first page, but we're not going to do 26 bones. That's just too much. This is how to draw. We want you to be able to draw feet so that you can get your characters kicking and, crouching and running, and so the feet look good. That's the point. I like this. Here, what I'm drawing, I like the shape of the foot, but it's a little thin. I mean, I probably should have fixed it. I think it's a little bit thin. Height-wise, it should be a little thicker. So here what I'm doing is I'm trying to go a little bit simpler to show you that really, if all you want to draw is a very simple shape, you don't need to draw all that detail. You can just draw like a triangular shape, and that's it. I mean, if you want to go very cartoony, you just draw some triangles. Triangles will pass for feet if you're drawing cartoons. I don't know why that works. It just does. So when we get into some gesture drawing in some later videos, you'll see that that's pretty much how I draw feet when I'm doing gesture work, is I draw very, very simple triangular feet. So anyway, here's some other views of the foot with a little bit more complicated of the complicated shape. Again, you can follow along, but I'm going to break it down even further here in just a second and show you the different sections of the foot. We're even going to get into toes a little bit in a few minutes here, but just showing you some other, a little bit more detailed with more form. So I'm just drawing another, I think I'm trying to draw a 3/4 view here. I'm not going to lie, feet are pretty hard to draw. That's why most people avoid drawing them. Like, you'll see a lot of people, when they draw, they'll hide their feet behind rocks or trees or bushes, or, just, they'll basically make the art so the feet are just out of view, and it's really a cheat so that you don't have to draw feet. But honestly, I like drawing the foot in the drawing. I like putting it in. I like knowing how to do it and saying, you know what, I'm going to put the foot in, because that, honestly, it makes you a more well-rounded artist when you actually know how to draw a foot shape and you can put it in. Um, I don't like hiding my feet. I like showing them off. So I like to learn how to draw them. And their struggle. I mean, they're they may be, they're not quite, I don't think they're quite as difficult as hands, but they're up there. I mean, they're difficult. Especially drawing them from different angles. I would honestly say use reference when you're drawing feet. But okay, so here I drew a little bit more of a basic structure. There's like 4 to 5 sections of the foot, and that's kind of a more of a basic structure layout. Like the ankle right at the top, the back side of the foot is number 2, and then it kind of slopes down, and then underneath all of that are the muscles and the tendons, and the bones. Actually, the bones, there's obviously, everyone knows there's 5 toes, but there's 5 really long bones that go all the way up your foot. That basically makes your foot. The spread out bones, and then the ligaments and the muscles attached all to it. But I like trying to draw the feet in these sections. I just think it looks good, or it helps me understand what I'm drawing better when I kind of section it out, and then when I, it's kind of like piecing it together instead of just trying to draw like earlier, like I was trying to draw like one shape all at once, and your proportions can get off, and it can look weird. And anyway, okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna get into drawing some toes. Scary, right? Yeah. I mean, most people don't even take their socks off when they draw, or when they're trying to draw a figure, that you either have socks on or shoes, and so I don't see a lot of drawings of toes. But they're basically like little tiny fingers, and that's what I'm trying to demonstrate here. But what I wrote there is they're so close together usually that they're hard to draw like that. And so here I write too hard. So we're not going to do it that way. A better way to do it is, I learned this from Bern Hogarth, that it's actually in one of his books, but he explains that the toes can be drawn like a series of steps. I'm drawing that here. I'm drawing that here to show you how each toe has 3 knuckles, basically, like the fingers, except they're tiny. They're basically like little fingers. But each toe has 3 knuckles, and when you kind of draw them like step shapes, they look more accurate. I gotta be honest, I don't really know why that is, but it looks better than trying to draw like a tiny finger or something. And I also say there, it's easier to draw the toes like steps than it is to try to draw them like little fingers or something. So we're going to get into some examples here. I'm saying here the big toe curves upward. It's not straight. It basically is curved. It's like, I've been talking about this a lot in my videos here. You got to be really careful of drawing everything so straight all the time. The big toe is not straight. It's curved. So here we're just drawing some examples. I'm gonna make a foot, I think, off of this. But here I'm drawing the basic shape of what we want for the toes section. I'm giving you a 3D example. This is basically what we're looking for, what we're trying to go after. We're trying to go after this shape that looks like stairs. So here I'm just drawing it from another angle. Again, you can pause the video and draw what I'm drawing. And so I'm just drawing the arrows to show you the direction. But the big toe curves. It's not flat or straight. And so the other toes curve also, but they curve downward. They don't curve upward. So I'm going to show that in a minute here. So the wedge shape of the foot, it angles up, it angles kind of upward, and then the toes angle down. That's why they kind of look like stairs. Like when you draw them, or when you see them, they look like they're pointing down. And I think that's maybe where Bernd Hogarth kind of came up with this idea of, if you draw them like steps, it'll be easier. And to be honest, it looks really, really cool. I think his method of drawing toes is like awesome. It makes it so much easier. So that's the method I'm showing you here. We're just going to do some examples. And again, drawing feet is tough. I mean, this took me a while. It's not like I did it in 5 minutes, but these are all examples that I made up just by thinking out of my head, and I didn't really look. I didn't have reference for this because I don't have a laptop or anything like that, so no reference. I just kind of made it up, and you can see me struggling a little bit to get the proportions right and the thicknesses right. And the same thing applies for toes that applies for legs. If you remember in the legs video, I mentioned that the widths all have to be the same, and it's the same thing for fingers and toes too. They all have to be the same width and everything like that. So except for the big toe, the foot is the exception, really. That the big toe is obviously bigger than all the other toes, but that's the exception to that. But all the little toes are all the same width, so you gotta be careful and draw them the same width every time. They don't have to be perfect. It just has to be believable. You just have to believe what you're looking at. When you show it to someone or someone sees your artwork, they have to believe, yeah, that's a foot, and those are toes. We always want to strive to get better with our art, but nobody's perfect right out of the gate. Not even, even I've taken years and years and years to learn this stuff, and I'm still nowhere near perfect. And if someone else looks at it and they say, wow, that looks like a foot, and that's exactly what you're trying to draw, good job. I mean, it's just a matter of time and practice. So here I'm going to draw some more detailed examples of feet. We'll take a little bit to do this here. I really wanted to take these examples and try to make them as nice as I could. Again, I'm not looking at anything. I'm just, using the rules that I know of, that big toe curving up and then the little toes curving down. And I'm trying to make a foot that looks halfway decent. And like I said, I'm not looking at anything. I don't have a laptop, so. And I'm sure that it's not perfect, but looks like a foot to me. I mean, the problem with anatomy is, like, you could spend years and even more years and more years and more years just perfecting everything you know. So, 5 years from now, I'm going to be way better than I was now. And then I hope that, by watching these videos or watching other people that you learn from, that by practicing, you get better too. I mean, it's all a matter of time and practice. Here's another view that I'm going to decide that I want to make up using that step down method for the toes. And here I'm noticing I'm drawing the big toe a little too thin. It should be wider, takes up more space. So I was a little bit confused a minute ago when I was trying to draw 5 toes and then I wasn't drawing the big toe big enough. The big toe is, maybe 2 toes wide, I would say. And so I'm fixing it, and I'm trying to draw the big toe a little bit larger. It just looks right when it's larger, because that's what it is in real life. So again, like I said, by now you should be able to at least have, an understanding of how to block in a basic shape. And again, you can pause the video and, follow along. But the basic shape of the foot shouldn't be too difficult for you at this point, if you've been practicing. So here I'm drawing the bones that go up the foot. I didn't place them exactly correctly, but those are the bones that go all the way up into the ankle. Basically, that's the foot. The toes are very long bones. And that's what you see when you look at your foot and the top of it. That's what you're seeing. You're seeing the bones, the ligament, the muscle. So here I'm just making up a foot out of nothing. This one actually comes out better than the other two. Comes out pretty good. I'm just kind of making it up, knowing, the rules of each toe has to be the same width. The big toe has to be larger than the other toes. And then what I'm doing here is I'm fixing the length on these, because I'm realizing that, and I'm counting. I drew one that I drew too many, so I had to erase. So again, I'm just making this up and using the step method for the little toes and the curve up method for the big toe. And then adding a little bit of detail with the nail. I want to practice drawing nails a little bit more. When they are drawn right, they look really cool for some reason. So I'm just editing here a little bit more, modifying my shapes, getting them to look a little bit better. Again, it's really all about the width. If you look at that drawing, the widths are almost perfectly the same size, and that's why it looks good. You got to make your big toe proportionately the right size to the size that you're trying to draw in. And I think this one was a lot about getting the right proportions and the right sizing. But like I said, when you're doing these examples, don't just try to draw the foot without any of the structure underneath. You have to draw the structure first, otherwise you're going to struggle and struggle and struggle for a really long time. Like even with this little drawing that I'm doing here, I didn't start by just drawing the foot. I drew the shapes, the underlying basic shapes, and then I'm refining it and making it look a little bit more realistic. So start with the basic structure of the foot first. For all of these examples, don't just go in and try to draw it without any structure behind it, because you'll struggle and you'll get really frustrated. Feet are tough. So I like that example. That came out nice. And then I'm really, female feet and male feet are kind of similar. Like, they're really the same thing. It's just, I'm saying here, remember the step down. Remember the steps. So you want to just always remember when you're trying to draw toes, draw that step down, and it'll look way more accurate. Again, I'll be honest, I haven't drawn enough feet in my life to know why that looks good. It looks really good, and it's a really good way to draw feet. So that's what I'm using for these examples. I'm remembering to draw, each section of foot as a step down. Here I'm doing another example from my mind, just seeing if I can make up a foot that's kind of got the toes bent forward. I personally don't have a lot of movement in my toes. I can't move my toe muscles very much, but a lot of people can, and I've seen a lot of people be able to just move their toes all over the place, and so the toes do have a lot of movement available. It's just mine don't move, so I can move like my big toe and I can move my other toes, but they all move at the same time. I can't move them individually. That's another story, but anyway. Anytime I see other people's feet, they can move their toes individually, so we have to remember that, the toes do move individually from one another, and try to draw some spacing in between them too, because like I did with the example on the upper left, just looks more natural that way. I'm just drawing some more here. I guess I didn't feel like stopping. So, giving a couple more examples. Yeah, the toes are hard to draw. You just need to keep practicing. Take what I've shown you in this video and apply it, and you'll be able to draw these toes in no time. It won't take you very long. If you learn the step down method, you'll get it. So practice it, and you'll eventually be able to draw toes like this, and maybe even get them looking better than what I have here. But there's some more examples for you out of my brain how to draw feet. So anyway, that's going to do it for this episode 13. I hope to see you again for the next video. See you soon.